This time on Werner's Whirligigs, we're finally going to pick up with the Curt 6-inch Vise restoration that we started, 7 months ago. And we're going to get to use the wheel adapter weights that we manufactured a couple episodes ago, which means we're going to be using the surface grinder. So let's go. I want you all to remember that I'm just another yokel who's not educated nor a professional in what I'm doing here, and it's possible that if you rely on this video, you, your project, or the both of you might end up as a smoldering hunk of hammered dog shit. Please use common sense, be careful, and always protect your ears, eyes, face, body, and hands when doing this type of work. With that, let's keep on trucking. This video may contain peanuts. Hey everyone, and welcome to Werner's Whirligigs, or welcome back if you've been here before. I'm here with my friend Klaus. Actually, this is a Klausing drill press, and that was a dumb dad joke. And I don't even have kids. Anyway, this week we're going to finally see if we can get that surface grinder doing some real work. So a couple of weeks ago, we made the balancing weights for the wheel arbor, and now they're in place. And we're just gonna test it out a little, and then we're gonna take 2 Curt Vises, and we're gonna grind both the ways and the top surfaces so that both vises have identical height ways and identical height tops of their fixed and moving blocks. Or, well, at least I hope that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm trying to do. And this is a project from my friend Rodolfo, who's been giving me tons of help along the way. And I'm glad I have this as a project for a quote-unquote customer, because I'll be motivated to do a better job than I would if it were just for myself. So it raises the stakes a little bit, and that's nice. So with that, let's go jump in. In the last episode, we made some balancing weights for the adapter for my surface grinder. And this piece I ground back about 6 months ago when I made the 3D printed balancing weights. And it is smooth as can be. I mean, I run my nail over it, I can't feel a thing. However, visually you can see that there is some kind of differentiation. You can see the pattern there, and so my goal hopefully today is to eliminate it with the new balancing weights and the now balanced wheel. Those plastic 3D weights that I used 6 months ago didn't quite balance the wheel correctly. It was close, but it wasn't right. It seemed right, but then after I ground them, I put it back up on my balancing rig, and it wasn't right. Not quite. So maybe this will be making the difference. I hope there's not something else in the machine causing it. So let's take a look. So we'll start with a 1/2 thou, see how it goes. The bottom half is the new grind, and the top half is the old grind. It's different. It seems to be, the bottom grind seems to be a little bit smaller, finer in terms of the interference pattern. There's still something going on there. I don't know. Now this is the next round here. I'm going to try going in the shade and then back into the light. You can see still there's interference pattern, but it's a lot less than it was when we started the day. I think When we started the day, maybe I could describe it as having facets almost. You could see lines between the different areas, and now you can't. It looks like a softer differentiation. Interestingly, towards the bottom, those circles don't exist. It's just there's just that linear pattern. And I don't know what to say about that. I don't know why it would have done it only on the first 5 or 6 rows and then stopped. I found another potential issue here. Checking for runout on my spindle, and I'm getting just a hair over 2 thousandths. Looks like 22 tenths. And that's on the inner edge of the spindle. Let me move it out a little bit and see what it looks like. Alright, that looks even worse. That's like around 37, 38, 39 tenths. Okay, well, I need to figure out whether that's a problem. Obviously, it's not right, but I don't know whether using the diamond to true the wheel compensates for that or not. Maybe it makes the surface smooth, but it creates an imbalance. We'll see. Well, I'm back to beat myself up again and struggle with this mess, but I realized one important thing. I forgot the mister yesterday, so I'm going to give this a shot and see what it looks like. I've got the steel block now up on my surface plate, granite surface plate. So it's zeroed out, but I'll show you just so you believe me that it's actually contacting the surface. So we're at 0 here, and as I move it across, it gets a little bit bumpy, wiggly. Yeah, there's like, it's hard to get a good reading like this. So one other thing I tried was just moving the block. When I move the block, I don't really, it almost stays completely still. I think maybe it moves half a tenth, if that. Let's try from top to bottom. Now it seems to be moving a bit more, actually. No. Maybe a couple of tenths from top to bottom. Maybe. Okay, well, look, that's still pretty good. So perhaps now it's time to start working on the surface grinder and put one of the vices in there. I was originally just going to grind a single vise and demonstrate that, but since I'm doing this for my friend Rodolfo and he would like 2 vices that are ground to the same height, I'm going to take that challenge. And so I've got these 2 different vices up here on my surface plate right now, and initially I'm going to measure the vices as compared to one another for their height in the same location here where the fixed block goes, so there shouldn't be much wear there. Then one at a time, I'm just going to map out the high and the low spots on each of the vices and write it on there with some magic marker so we have something to see while we're grinding. And then we'll take it over and start grinding. I need to think through how exactly I'm going to make sure they're the same height. It's easy to do over here on my surface block, but once I mount things up on the grinder, I don't really have a good way to determine whether they're the same height. I can watch my dial on the surface grinder and, you know, hopefully I could get pretty decent accuracy with that. But I have to remember that when I clean up the grinding wheel and take off a couple of thousandths, I have to accommodate for that as well. So, I don't know, I think this is going to be a learning process for me, but that's the goal. Finish 2 of these vises, have the same height here, and then I'm also going to grind the underside of the moving block here, and then I'm going to have to grind the top of the moving block and also the top of the stationary block, so that both of those end up being the same height on top of the vise. It's going to be tricky, but I'm going to do it. Let's start out by comparing the 2 vises. So I've got my indicator zeroed on this surface here, and I'm going to just go over to the other surface on the same vise, and while it's moving around, it's in the neighborhood, plus or minus a half a thousandth or 5/10. Then let's bring it over to this vise. Okay, we're quite a bit different here. So we are 4 thousandths low on vise number 2. And again, this one is also very, very similar. It's off by half a tenth to a tenth at most. Okay, so we know that these 2 vises have been finished at different heights. This is vise number 1. So I'm going to start here. This is 0. And we're just going to take some measurements on the way back. We'll take 5. So we're still at 0. This is negative 1.2 thousandths. Say negative 1.5, negative 0.8, and 0. Okay, let's go around to the other side. Okay, we get 0. Just call it 0. Negative 0.8. Negative 0.7. Negative 0.4. And 0. Second one. It's located in the same direction as the first vise. Both start at 0, 0.4, negative 0.4, negative 0.2 tenths, or no, thousandths, so negative 4 tenths, negative 2 tenths, negative 5 tenths, negative 3 tenths, 0, negative 2 tenths, and 0 at the end again. So, I mean, these vises are pretty flat, but I'm going to try to make them better. I reground the chuck. The finish on here is much better than it was before. However, I can still see the interference pattern. I've pretty much determined that, I've determined that there is runout in the spindle, and even though I have used a diamond to true and dress the wheel, I'm still having these interference problems, and I suspect it might have something to do with the runout in the spindle. But, this is good enough for government work, so I'm going to keep moving forward. At some point, I probably will end up disassembling this machine and doing some kind of restoration on it, but that's not today. So now we're going to finally start to move forward, grinding some vises for my buddy. I have this little piece of thin foil here from a candy package, and I'm going to use this to get the tip up close to the wheel, or get the wheel down close to the tip. So let's see, let's get it under there first. Then we're going to drop the wheel. And I'm just waiting for it to start. Yep, there we go. So now it's pinched. Okay. All right, I think that's pretty close. I made a nice clean pass all the way across, but we'll do one more. Okay. This is vise number 1. This is the taller of the two. Let's get going. So it's only grinding at the two ends, which is what you would expect if there was a valley in the center. Alright, I've dropped it 1,000th. We're going to pick it up again. Alright, we're picking it up again, and we are still seeing that valley after dropping it 1,000th of an inch, which isn't surprising. And I'm not using cooling right now, and you might have noticed that. And I'm just experimenting. Yeah, I think I'm going to just try hand running it a little bit too at a slower pace to see how it affects the surface when it's wet versus dry. Sometimes I wonder whether running the water clogs up the pores in the grinding wheel. I don't know. I just look at the surface when I'm running the diamond over it, and sometimes it looks like there's a layer of, I don't know, clay over the top or silt. That would be from the grindings. And that's only when I run it wet. Bring it down here into view for a second. It's interesting, if you look here, you can see that the place where the fixed block has sat is the highest point, which makes sense because it doesn't get wear, but it's clearly delineated. And then, there we have this low spot here in the center, which makes sense. Well, this is interesting. I've dropped it another 1,000th, and I still have these holes in here. So now I've dropped it a total of 3,000th. And the low spot here was only 1.5 thousandths. I'm wondering if the handle has some more backlash in it than I understand. I got out the manual and reread the part about changing the vertical height of the grinder wheel, and I'm not misreading it. Each tick is 5/10. So I don't know, I think we'll just keep moving forward and see what happens. Okay, well, here we go this time. I dropped it another 1,000th, and now it's decided it's going to take everything out. So, yeah, I still don't know what to say. But maybe there was some backlash in there. But I backed it up about 20 thousandths and then brought it in to make sure all backlash was out of the adjustment wheel. I think ultimately the way I'm going to solve having both being the exact same height is that I will take this one down to some specific reading on the hand wheel and then raise it back up a little bit, bring the other vise over, put it down on here, and take it back to the exact same line on the hand wheel. So I'm not going to aim for an even number of the total height. I'm just going to try to get them both the same. And I think that's probably the best I can do given these circumstances. I did run this by hand just for a second as an experiment, dry, and the finish is nicer than when it's wet. So I think I'm going to do my finishing passes dry. I don't think I'm even going to turn on the water today, or the coolant. Well, it's really turning a rooster tail now. It looks like it's more than a 1/7 of an inch. Maybe the backlash caught up. I really don't know. We still have some marks in here, though. I'm going to go for a completely smooth surface and get rid of all the pitting in the metal. So I'm going to take it down some more, and I'll do both of them like that. Of course, I'll have to consider, since the other one was 4 thousandths lower than this one, I might have to take this one down even more just so I can clean the other one up to the point where it doesn't have any pits in it. It's pretty to watch. Alright, I'm shutting it down now. I'm going to take this one off. I still was not able to get out the fine little nicks. And I think I went down, gosh, probably about 11 thousandths. So I did 11 of these layers back and forth. But there's still some of them there. I'm going to switch to the other one in a few minutes. Well, it's actually been more than a few minutes. It's actually been overnight since we stopped working on the first vise, and now we're bringing up the second one and have it up on the table. Alright, we're getting close to the end of this first run. We can see the low spots in the middle. So I'm just going to keep cleaning this one until we get rid of these open areas in the center. And I apologize for the glare. I turned on the coolant, not so much for cutting, but for dust suppressant. And now that the sun is out and I can see the dust swirling in the air, or I could. So now I turned on the coolant so it keeps the dust planted or somewhat under control. Now that we've done 7 runs, let's take a quick look at the surface. So we've taken off about 7 thousandths of an inch, and you'll see we still have this pitting up here and up here as well. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't like that. So we're just going to keep on going. Okay, well, we're just winding up. But let's see, I think we're getting close to 11 thousandths now. Alright, let's wipe it off and see what we got going on. Still not perfect, but getting close. You can see we have just this little constellation here, and another little one up here. Just really not much at all. I think I'm going to give it just a couple more passes and see if I can finish it up. I've got the number 2 vise up on the surface plate now, and I'm using my 50 millionths indicator. So just checking. I want to see if there's a difference between the 2 sides. So okay, we got it roughly zeroed here. It's bouncing around a little bit, and we're also showing roughly 0 over here. That's encouraging. Okay, and then let's just check from here down. Okay, it's dropping about -5/10. Well, now it's more like -1.5 thousandth. Let's check the other side. Okay, we're at roughly 0 again. -5 thousandths. -7 tenths. 7, about -1,000th, -8 tenths. And then again, right up here, we get up to -1.5 thousandths. Yeah, so it's weird. It's a fast drop. It's like right here. It's on both sides. It's roughly 8 thousandths, 8 tenths, excuse me. And then all of a sudden here, it's -1.5 thousandths. So at least they're both doing the same thing. I have no idea what will cause it to do that, though. And now I want to compare the two just to see how much different they are. So this is number 1. This is the one we did first. And I've just got it set on here at 1, and you'll see why in a second. So this is going all the way around once. So it's when we take it over to here. So this one is 8 thousandths lower than this one, which lines up with what I thought we had done so far. So this one's going to get a little more treatment, and this one just is going to get cleaned off, I think, as we attempt to get them to be the same height. We are on the last of the 8 thousandths, of material removal here on vise number 1. And once we finish going across here, we're going to take it back over to the surface plate and compare it to vise number 2. We're back at the table now, and we've got the surface plate out. The one on the left is number 1. That is the one that we've just been grinding on. Number 2 is the other vise. So let's get this on here and find a 0, and I'll just leave it right there. Let's go across to this side. We're showing it's like a 5/10 higher than the other side. So let's step across to the next vise, and we're more like 1.5 thousandths hot above 0 here, and here too. So I guess what that means is I went a little bit too far. This one is taller, so I ground this one about 1.5 thousandths more than I should have. However, look, that's close. So I think we're in the final stretch, fingers crossed. I guess what I'll do first is go and take a few layers off this tall one. Well, actually what I'll do first is go and trim up the grinding wheel, true and face, and then I'll take maybe 3 thousandths off of this one, maybe 2. And then I'll note the mark on the wheel, what it says the height is on the dial. And then I'll back it up just a little bit, bring this one in, and finish at the same height. And hopefully that'll give me 2 vises with the same height. All right, we're just about ready to kick off doing the final grind on vise number 1. Well, I thought I was just about done. I got this surface as flat as can be. When the DTI goes over it, there's really no difference anywhere on there. I was so happy, but I've got these linear patterns on that are really bothering me. And so I did a little research online, and there were three things that I came across. One, make sure your diamond tip is sharp. Now I pulled out mine and looked at it. I would not call it sharp. I compared it to the other 2 that I have, and they were definitely way sharper. So I'm trying a different diamond now. 2, make sure you move the diamond across the grinding wheel briskly. And the 3rd was take a wooden stick and just run it over the edge of the wheel just to knock off any potential particles that are stuck in there. So I'm trying that as well. So we'll see now on this next go how things look. Once again, I ran into some camera problems, namely operator error. Werner was the problem. I failed to capture any footage of grinding after I used the sharper tip on the diamond to true the surface of the wheel. But you can see the results here in this video. The surface looks much better, and those linear features are now gone. Moving on, we want to make sure that the fixed and moving blocks are also equal. We're going to start by grinding the underside of the moving jaws first, and then we'll flip this over, put it on a vise, and do the tops of the fixed and moving jaws. All things considered, I think the underside of the moving blocks came out quite nicely. The next thing we're going to do is set these and the fixed blocks up on top of one of the vices to fixture it on the surface grinder, and then we're going to just grind that whole thing until it's all equal level. It's a new day, hopefully the last day, and I've already mounted one of the two bases on the on my surface grinder. That's the number one. There's a number one vise and a number two vise, and I've oiled all 27 or 26 oil ports on this machine. And so now it's time to fixture the fixed and moving blocks for grinding. I've already taken flat stone and just ground off the bottoms here just to make sure everything is good. And yeah, so I'm gonna put this in here, and we're doing this to lock everything in. You'll see in a second, it'll make sense, because I don't have a magnet up here. The magnet only goes up to here. Anyway, so the wheel spins this way, therefore it's going to be pushing everything this way, which is why I put this key down here, put the keyed end of the base down here, and put the fixed block right here. So, you know, these can't get out, these can't get out. This can go this way, but it can't go this way. And this can go this way also, but it can't go this way. So hopefully this is going to be what we need to hold everything in place. Well, I almost made an error, but I caught it. You probably can't see it, but there's a little gap right here. And when I took this off, I could see that this was sitting on top of here. You know, this is pieces from two different vices, and they're both D60s, but they were probably made at slightly different times. So this moving block does not fit with this base. So we're going to take this one, which is a little bit shorter of a moving, or it's a little bit better fit with this thing here, and swap it around. All right, that's better. We've got everything set up. I've put some magnets here just as extra support so that these two won't slip sideways. I also noticed, I think it's the case, I'm not 100% sure, but it feels to me like the fixed jaws, or the fixed blocks, excuse me, are a little bit taller. I guess we're going to see that in a moment when I take this pass. All right, we'll take a pass on this one first. Sometimes it's just fun to watch this machine work in all of its Rube Goldberg glory. It turns out that the one fixed block was about 4 thousandths higher than the rest. So I'm just taking one last pass at it, and I know it's going to hit into the other fixed block next. So then I'm going to have to do those two at the same time, and then finally I'll get down to the two moving blocks, and I can go and grind the whole thing. All right, now we're hitting on both of the fixed blocks, but the moving blocks haven't been touched yet. So we'll just take off another few layers until we touch the moving blocks. You'll notice that I added some extra magnets here, 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 and on this end over here. I just noticed that things were moving ever so slightly at the very end of the throw, and I didn't want to, well, I guess I wanted to shortcut any potential problems that might happen by that. So I just got out a welding magnet, and these are some magnets that I use for other things. Well, would you believe, after 10 passes, we finally hit everything for the first time. These two were about 5 or 6 thousandths below the fixed blocks, so the moving blocks were 5 or 6 thousandths below the fixed blocks, and you know, each of these passes takes, well, just about 5 minutes, less than forever. So yeah, a lot of waiting around here, but I want to go keep going a little bit further. There's still this corner up here was just a little bit low, and I'm going to do probably 1 or 2 passes more with the machine, and then I'm going to do 1 pass by hand, just because I can slow it down and that gives it a better finish. So yeah, we're going to do it 1 more time here with the machine, at least. All right, this one is our last pass. Let's see what we have after that last grind. Was that the final? Now earlier, when we were doing the weighs, I said I didn't want any little pocks in the metal, but this time I can live with it. It's funny how your tolerance changes over time. Okay, maybe just 1 more time just to kind of clean this stuff up here. This was a little bit low when I was going through. Alright, let's take a look at this again. Still have a few leftover marks here, and they're a little rough feeling. I think I'll do it 1 last time. Okay, I'm good with this. I can put my brand on it, so to speak. Well, here they are. They're not finished. I still have to clean up the rest of the pieces for these vices, but I don't have to do any more grinding, at least not on these two that are going to my friend Rodolfo. So this is number 1, and this is number 2. This one over here on the right is another one that I'm working on, but I haven't gotten around to grinding the blocks yet, the fixed and the moving block. So I'm really happy with how these came out, and you know, I can't feel a difference here. Phew, I'm kind of glad this one is over. That was a lot of work, but thank you if you're still watching here. I learned a few things in the making of this video. I think one of the most important things is that I cannot trust the Z-axis wheel and dial on my machine. There is no repeatability. I mean, I would leave and come back trying to take into account backlash, and I would be off 10, 15 thousandths of an inch. and that happened many times. So I had to come up with other ways to work around that, and I was able to because I got these things dialed in. But boy, that was difficult when it didn't need to be. I also think I should get or try a 7-inch wheel next time instead of a 6-inch wheel. Um, yeah, I went through this wheel fairly fast actually, and so starting with a 7-inch wheel uh, would give me more material. Of course, it's going to cost more, but if I can fit it in there, I think it's a better way to go. Well, uh, if you enjoyed the video, give me the thumbs up, and if you feel like subscribing, that would be great. I just hit my 200 subscriber mark this week. That's exciting. It's over 11 months just to give you all a feel of what it takes for me. Some people fly up and they get subscribers right away. I'm not one of those people, and I now have 2,000 watch hours, but I need to get to 3,000 before eBay will even consider giving me YouTube will even consider giving me a penny for the ads they show in my videos. All right, well, I think I'm ready to clean up and call it a day. So I think I'll see you the next time. So long for now.